Welcome to Pair This With That, the podcast for everyday wine enthusiasts and amateur foodies who want to broaden their knowledge in a casual, conversational forum. In just about 30 minutes each episode, we'll help you become that friend people go to when they want to know what wine to have with dinner or how to pick out the right bottle at the local wine shop. You don't have to be a sommelier or a chef. You just need a healthy curiosity. Join us as we expand our food and wine knowledge together. And now, here's your host, John Reed.
We meet again. Welcome back to Pair This With That. I am John, your host. And today, I'm recording this. I wanted to do a more timely episode because at the time I'm recording this, it's about 10 days from the 4th of July. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to do something around barbecue. So barbecue and the wines you would pair with them. So barbecue is kind of in my wheelhouse. So if you're looking on YouTube, watching this on YouTube, you see a flag behind me that says Wine with Barbecue. That is my blog. Also, it's an Instagram account, and it's an outlet for me to express my two passions, wine and barbecue. And the way I kind of got into barbecue was it was really kick-started in the early months of COVID, but it actually started about 2 years before that. One birthday, my now wife gave me my first smoker, and I really enjoyed barbecue when we went out to restaurants. I thought it was always something that I would want to pursue. That is the cooking meat through the process of smoking it. But I never. This was the first smoker that that I ever got and ever used, and I really enjoyed it. I made, a lot of great barbecue dishes like brisket, pulled pork, chicken, smoked turkey, which is out of this world. If you have never had smoked turkey or never smoked turkey before, I really highly recommend it. It's a really adds another element to an already delicious cut of meat. So I got that smoker. It was a propane smoker. So I'm not sure what happened, but after a year, I guess the dial or the igniter just wasn't lighting the fire anymore. So I got another one. I got another smoker, pretty much the exact same model. It was a propane. And about a year later, the same thing happened. And I just was kind of frustrated because I knew I wanted to continue smoking meat. And I didn't know the best approach for it. So I did a little research, and I decided that probably getting a charcoal smoker was the best way to go. There are other options you can get. There's pellet smokers. There are also stick burners. But I thought charcoal was probably the best fit for me. So I got what is referred to as the Weber Smoky Mountain. And so if you look at it, look at a picture of it, it's kind of like, it looks like this big black bullet. And I think actually they're actually called bullet smokers. This style, the Weber Smoky Mountain isn't the only type of smoker that looks like this, but I think it's probably the most popular. So I got that, and I started using that, and it just did something, like cooking with charcoal and cooking with actual fire rather than propane. Really, for lack of a better term, ignited this passion in me that I knew I wanted to continue doing this. I knew I wanted to experiment more, learn more about barbecue and smoking meat, and I got cookbooks. I watched YouTube videos. I watched television shows. There's one in particular called Barbecue Pitmasters that I really got into, and I just learned as much as I can. So as I learned more and more, as I learned about the different styles of barbecue, as I learned more about the different dishes you could do, the wheels started turning in my head. It's like, well, maybe I could do something about, like a blog or an Instagram account about pairing wine with barbecue, since I was I was really getting into both of them at the same time. So even though wine was I had been into that for years. So, but I thought this was like a really perfect match for me. And this is kind of why I wanted to do something today with the 4th of July coming up to get your thoughts, get your mind thinking about what kind of dishes you're going to make for the holiday and what kind of wines you're going to pair with the food you make. So, first off, I don't really consider, like, if you're going to grill like hamburgers or chicken or hot dogs, I really don't consider that barbecue. I consider that grilling, and a lot of barbecue enthusiasts agree with me. There's just something about the process of smoking meat that distinguishes between real barbecue and grilling meat. Now, if you want to just do simple hamburgers and hot dogs, I mean that's pretty easy. I always recommend, depending on what you put on your hamburger, a Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec, Pinot Noir, easy. Uh, Hot dogs are a little trickier. Basic, I mean, your basic hot dog with sweet ketchup, mustard, and sweet relish. You're probably going to want to go with a Riesling to kind of match the sweetness of that. But if you start making things like chili dogs or something, start putting things on the hot dog that make it more than like a regular hot dog. You're going to start to want to explore other things. Like if you're going to do a chili dog, that is spicy, but it's also very thick and very rich with its kind of like a beef foundation. So I would probably tend toward a rosé or a Pinot Noir in that case. But to me, that's easy. So, but barbecue is a little more nuanced, and we're going to talk about the different styles of barbecue and what would you pair with the different dishes according to the different styles. So, I wanted to get into this because barbecue, is it's best known as a southern kind of cuisine. So, but within, just the South and that kind of cuisine, there's different regions that have their own distinct styles. So I wanted to kind of get into that and talk about the wines that would go best with each kind of style. So let's start off with Kansas City. So this is one region that has one of the oldest and most famous barbecue traditions, and it doesn't tend to specialize in one particular type of meat. It kind of runs the gamut of pork, pulled pork, pork ribs, beef ribs, beef brisket, chicken, sausage, etc. The meats are usually cooked over hickory wood with a dry rub applied, and they also use a variety of sauces, which are usually served on the side rather than applied to the meat during the cook. But those sauces, Kansas City style sauce recipes, are thick, tangy, sweet, and usually include a tomato base. So, one item in particular that Kansas City has become known for is brisket burnt ends. Now, there are two parts of the brisket. There's the flat and the point, and the burnt ends come from the point. So when you're cooking a brisket, if you want to make burnt ends, you usually cook the brisket. When the point is ready, you cut that off, and then you cut it into kind of 1 inch square cubes. And then you usually apply a sauce to it. Put it in the smoker for about 20 more minutes and let the sauce glaze. So they're really tender, they're really tasty, and Kansas City has kind of become known for this particular type of barbecue dish. So if you're going with Kansas City, you're probably going to go with wines that require, when you're pairing with it, you're probably going to go with wines that possess kind of like a spicy, fruity, and ripe characteristics, such as Zinfandels from the New World, as well as Syrahs. Now I want to move on to the Carolinas, so both North and South Carolina. start with North Carolina, which actually has two distinct regions within that state. Eastern North Carolina is known for a method of cooking whole hog. I mean, that's what it's really known for. Now, if you've never um, partake partaken in whole hog, it's basically what it sounds like. It's they smoke the whole hog, which is usually a 15 to 20 hour cook, during which the hog is mopped with a sauce at regular intervals. I think about an hour or so, until the meat is ready for serving. When it's ready for serving, it's chopped up and served with a spicy vinegar-based sauce. So that's primarily Eastern North Carolina. Western North Carolina is known as that style of barbecue is known as the Lexington style. The meat of choice usually in this region is pork shoulder, which is smoked whole, of course, and it's smoked at a temperature where the skin is allowed to get kind of crispy rather than leaving it to be more tender. The pitmaster then chops up the meat or slices it, and it is served with a typical vinegar based sauce. But with this sauce, it's usually enhanced with tomato sauce or brown sugar and or brown sugar. Now, considering the sauces of the two North Carolina styles, the perfect wine partners for this are ones that you're matching the acidity. So, for instance, German Riesling, Sangiovese, a lighter Pinot Noir, either Old World or New World, Old World Syrah, New World Petit Syrah, or Rosé. Now we're going to move a little bit southward to South Carolina. Like North Carolina, it's known for whole hog barbecue. The sauces are often vinegar based, and they include heavy or light tomato elements. In addition, this region is also known for a mustard-based sauce called Carolina Gold. You know, it's spicy, but it's also heavier than your tomato sauces. So it's kind of why this region is sometimes called the mustard belt, because it's known for that Carolina Gold mustard sauce. Now, given the spicy mustard flavors associated with this region of barbecue, some good choices to look for when you're shopping for wine are Aglianico. I hope I'm saying that right. Sangiovese and Montepulciano. So those are some good options if you're eating barbecue with that heavy, spicy Carolina Gold sauce. Now let's move a little westward to Tennessee, and specifically Memphis, Tennessee. Tennessee is widely known for good barbecue, but Memphis specifically is what it's known for. What signifies Memphis style is barbecue is that the meat, pork probably being the most popular protein, is slow cooked with a paprika based dry rub instead of a wet sauce. Now, when a sauce is used, it's often a thinner vinegar tomato based concoction, and it's usually served on the side rather than poured directly or mopped directly onto the meat. Now, Tennessee pork is served as dry rub spare ribs, and the pork shoulder is either chopped up or pulled. Now, just like Eastern North Carolina, the Eastern Tennessee pitmasters have an affinity for whole hog, which is served with a thick tomato-based sweet and spicy barbecue sauce. And similar to North Carolina, there are some good wine possibilities to pair with Memphis style barbecue. A different consideration is that the Memphis style might not be as acidic, particularly the meat, because it's dry rubbed versus sauced. So some wines to consider here: Old World style Riesling, Chenin Blanc, Gewürztraminer, Tempranillo, or Sangiovese or Chianti. So you're getting all these different styles. You're seeing all the different possibilities with your wine according to the different styles of barbecue. Now, Texas. Let's go to the Lone Star State. Texas has actually four distinct regions as far as barbecue goes: Central, East, West, and South. So, but the Central we'll kind of focus on here is probably what comes to mind most when someone refers to Texas style barbecue. And the approach, I mean, well, first of all, let's start with the meat because what Texas is really known for is brisket. And this is cattle country. So Texans expect to have the best cuts of meat when indulging in barbecue. So brisket is probably the most popular dish when it comes to Texas barbecue. Central Texas is really where the Texas style barbecue comes from, and in particular, cooking Texas style brisket. Now, this involves smoking the brisket over oak wood, sometimes pecan. The application of sauce doesn't really factor into the equation because the meat is just generally seasoned with salt and pepper. They like to let the brisket do most of the talking. There's no need to add to hide its tenderness or its beefy flavor with a lot of spice or sweetness. They just love to let that brisket shine through. East Texas is a little different. They are known for cooking over hickory wood. And unlike Central Texas, these pit masters in East Texas will mop on sauces that are generally tangy and tomato based. Now, while they do enjoy their brisket, chopped beef and chopped pork are often favorite barbecue dishes of this region. Now, the more west you travel in Texas, the more it starts to become like those westerns that you grew up watching. This is the known as the cowboy style of barbecue, and this region is more desolate. It's got more desert, and it's kind of like if you picture the tumbleweeds. If you picture the tumbleweeds going like in the old ghost town, this is where this is what West Texas is all about. And the way they cook their meat is usually cowboy style. And that's often prepared over an open fire and direct heat rather than offset smoking. So let's move on to South Texas, which boasts a barbecue style that's more along the lines of the barbacoa tradition, which barbacoa comes from Mexico. And in barbacoa, the meat is cooked slowly over a covered pit. And it's given the time it needs to tenderize, to envelop all the flavors that they put in with, however they wrap the meat, whatever they use to enhance it. That's how it becomes this tender, flavorful kind of meat. So, but again, Central Texas is probably where you want to concentrate on. That kind of style of barbecue is where you want to concentrate on when you're talking about Texas style barbecue. And in particular, the brisket. The brisket is a big, bold slice of beef. And likewise, your wine should be as bold and capable of handling a smoky, beefy dish. Now, New World Reds are often structured to have complex flavors. So you might want to consider some varietals from California or South America, such as Zinfandel, Malbec, or Cabernet Sauvignon. So there we have the kind of like the major barbecue regions. That's what, when you think of Southern barbecue, those regions are what you most think of, like Kansas City, Memphis, Texas. Alabama is also widely known in the South. I don't think it's widely known across the country for its barbecue, but it does have its own distinct style of barbecue. So it features your standard proteins like pork and chicken, and that is often served as chopped up and in sandwiches. But the style is known. What differentiates Alabama from the other regions we've been talking about is its white barbecue sauce, which is composed of mayonnaise combined with vinegar, lemon juice, black pepper, and sometimes horseradish. Not really my cup of tea because I don't tend to favor white sauces, and in particular, I don't favor horseradish. It's just something I've never acquired a taste for. But if this is your style of barbecue, it's probably wise to choose a wine that pairs well with mayonnaise based sauce, such as Chablis or Unoaked Chardonnay from California. Now, Kentucky. Kentucky is different. What makes it different is that this is a state that's big on mutton. That particular cut of meat is smoked with hickory wood and served with a black Worcestershire based sauce that includes lemon, vinegar, and spices. Now, the rest of the bluegrass state, as it's called, they like their pork primarily, which is often pulled or thinly sliced. But let's focus on the mutton, since we've done pork over and over again during this episode. With the texture of this protein and the accompanying sauces that they serve with it, you want a red wine that can really handle bold meat flavors, such as a North California Merlot. Also good for this is a Bordeaux or a Bordeaux style red. Um, that's These are probably the most suitable partners for Kentucky style barbecue. Now, we're going to go abroad because another really popular style of barbecue is Korean barbecue. Um, it's also known as, and I'm going to butcher this, gogi gui, which refers to a Korean cuisine method of grilling meat such as beef, chicken, or pork on gas or charcoal grills. And these grills are usually inlaid in the dining room table itself. It kind of think of like a hibachi table. If you've ever gone to a hibachi restaurant, this is basically very similar to that. So different styles of Korean barbecue. And again, for all you vast numbers of Korean audience members out there, I'm going to butcher these and I apologize. So, bulgogi is known for a marinade used in the preparation of the meat, and it's probably the most representative form of Korean barbecue. It's usually prepared by marinating thinly sliced cuts of beef sirloin or tenderloin cuts. Galbi is another popular version in which short ribs of meat, such as beef, pork, chicken, might be marinated in a sweet, savory sauce, and the meat is served to the customers raw, but left to cook on the tabletop grill. So again, think of hibachi. Now, what kind of wines are you going to pair with these? Now, if we're going with what goes together, grows together, something like that. I forget what the exact expression is, but if we're looking for Asian kind of wines to go with Korean barbecue, so you have soju, masilju, which is a Korean plum wine, sake, which is rice wine, or makgeole, which is Korean rice wine. But if you want to stick with wines that are more familiar to you, some basic pairings with Korean barbecue are dry light Riesling or a crisp a crisp Sauvignon Blanc. These are for more spicy Korean dishes. For the smoky and sweet dishes, you probably want to go with an Australian or Chilean Shiraz or an American Zinfandel. Chianti is also good. For the seafood dishes, you probably want to stick with a rosé or a poulet fumé from France. So that's kind of my overview of barbecue and the wines that you want to pair with it. Hopefully, this kind of helps you think about what you're going to cook for the 4th of July. It's coming up, and the what you want to look for at your local wine shop when you go shopping. So, hope this helps. And I really appreciate you joining me today, and I will see you next time. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Pair This with That. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Until next time, cheers.